number one. And of course, my hair is being recorded completely out of bounds, but this is what happens after how many months of COVID and without yet a, yeah.
Yeah, there's Armin.
Too many.
Okay.
Hi, Laura.
Hello. So I'm going to call the meeting to order. I'm trying to decide if I need to call the roll. I don't think so. I'll just mark the roll and share the screen and bring up our agenda. And hopefully I'm bringing up the correct agenda. And I am. Okay, can you guys all see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm calling the meeting to order, and the first order of business is to approve the agenda, which I will have to scroll through a little. And of course, somehow I'm going to have a little problem with that. And Greg, can you there's a couple of people in the waiting room, and I don't seem to have the ability to let.
They're in.
Okay. Okay, so scrolling through the agenda, we'll have a meeting protocols reminder in a moment, public comments. If we have government officials present, we'll have that's, reports. Then we'll go to our administrative packet, which is hopefully an administrative action, and the approval of the monthly expenditure report. And then we'll appoint Sarah Lacey, which we'll explain at the time, to the Region 5 seat. And then we have a bunch of planning and zoning cases. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and follow up to previous cases, maybe 6. And then we'll be celebrating our board member services. Now, I do want to say that we're trying to balance. Janie will need to leave and Marielle is going to be late. And I'm trying to balance this session to both of their being present. So as soon as the two of them are present, we'll stop at the end of whatever item we're on and celebrate our don't leave the room after we celebrate you, because we'll still need you for quorum, but we'll have that little session thanking our departing board members. And then we'll have standing rules, executive committee business, standing rules, a discussion about if we've decided when the retreat is, a board member training update, and a couple of updates from yours truly, Laura Myers, president. So this is the agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Dorit, I approve the agenda. I make a motion to approve the agenda.
And is there a second?
Second, Lizzie.
Okay, and I'm going to stop the share. We don't do a BAC on this. So for those board members present and eligible to vote, if you wouldn't mind either raising your little blue hand, raising a reactions hand, or just raising your hand if you approve the agenda. And that's for board members only, please. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 at least. Okay, 11. Agenda is approved. So the next item quickly is just a simple reminder that we follow a code of conduct. We are conducting our Zoom meetings. We're conducting our Zoom meetings in a fully participatory way, but because everyone needs to be respectful of each other and basically respectful also of our rules, which are, even though you're able to unmute yourself and just yell out, please do not. Please raise your hand and wait to be called on. Because we are also attempting to move this meeting rather quickly, our standing rules would limit speakers to basically limit the speakers and speeches on a given item to 1 minute each, 2 times. So try to remember that And because we have a lot of business to get to tonight, and we're going to try and stick to that because otherwise we won't get through all the business. When we are voting, I would ask all board members to unmute yourselves so we can go through the BAC rather quickly, but otherwise mute yourselves during the course so that we're not hearing your background noise. And as always, we've been moving the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners Code of Conduct forward for each meeting in our agenda packet so you can see all the rules. But essentially be respectful, be polite, don't talk over other people, and absolutely respect everybody's varying and diverse opinions. Okay, thank you. Public comment. So we have a lot of hands raised, but I don't know if they're still up from before or if they're new. So Brittany, I know you're new because you weren't voting on the agenda. So I'm calling on Brittany, and you're muted, so you need to unmute yourself.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Laura. Hi, everyone. My name is Brittany Liu. I'm a resident of the area and a community organizer with Redeemer Community Partnership. I usually attend the Planning and Zoning Committee meetings, but I wanted to share a general update with the entire board and UNNC about 2 notices of violations that were issued against the Murphy drill site just this past January, one of which was for a permit violation with regards to operating equipment that was within 1,000 feet of a school site. And the other violation was for saying that the nearest residential or sensitive area was within a half mile, but it's actually much closer. And so as a response to these and like other regulatory actions, the city will be reviewing all of the site's operating conditions. And so we're still learning and just wanted to share updates as they come in. I wanted to honor the time. I know I just have a minute, but if you have any questions, feel free to email me at brittany@redeemercp.org. Thank you.
So Brittany, go ahead and send your email to me in the chat, and then I'll post it for everyone. Donna. But you're muted.
Thank you. Just wanted to let everyone know we're now able to do neighborhood cleanups. We were okayed for our cleanup at the end of next month. So we're doing our big Sunday cleanup the 30th of July to the 2nd. So anybody who'd like to participate, there will be dumpsters along 7th Avenue. Just wanted to let you know you can reach out to sanitation and do that.
Okay, thank you. And are you, I should ask Donna, is that going to be avenues wide or area wide?
Area wide, everyone's welcome.
Okay, so you'll send me something and it'll go out in the e-blast.
We'll definitely, once we get past the 4th.
Sure. Okay. Any other public comments? Oh, seeing none. The next item is Council District 10 report or any other government officials and agencies. I have no idea if there's anybody from Council District 10 or any other agency with us today. If yes, please just raise your hand because we have a lot of attendees and I can't see. All right. And now
Laura, there are 2 honored guests are here.
I'm sorry, Greg.
Marielle, you said you wanted to know when
Marielle
Jamie
has arrived.
is-
That is
yes.
right. So what do you guys want to do? This is early in the meeting. Shall we say thank you to all of our board members who aren't going to leave just because you've gotten thanks? Okay, let's do that.
Let's
So
do
we're
that.
but please stay so we can retain our quorum. So basically, this is the last meeting, not just of our fiscal year, but of this 4-year period for our Group A board members. UNNC has 23 board members. We have Group A's and we have Group B's, and that we end our terms on alternating session, every 2 years. Some board members are returning who were in group A, and others sadly are not. That doesn't mean they are not going to participate or not going to love us anymore, or that we're not going to love them anymore, but they won't be voting members of the board. Okay, I'm getting a little sad already. So this is what I would like to do. When we are meeting in real life, we get to have a group hug. We get to have a group photo. We hand out certificates. We can't do any of that. I haven't even figured out if I can get certificates mailed to y'all. I'm trying. So what I do want to do is me personally start out by thanking you individually. And then if any other board member wants to raise their hand and do same, I do welcome that, because, you know, this is a time where we're all filled with gratitude for those who have been able to continue to participate in the middle of a COVID pandemic, and who have given so much of themselves over the past 4 years, and especially the past 16 months. So individually, I want to thank Gabby, who's leaving the board, but not going anywhere. She's going to continue, as far as I know, with Raheem with our communications efforts and social media, especially digital social media. And she just jumped in and has done a great job with that, and I really appreciate it. I don't know if Tori is here, but Tori Bailey also does not intend to go anywhere, except for she's going away from board meetings. She has led our effort for many years with our homelessness liaison outreaching. And in this era of Zoom, she's found, well, along with every other member of the committee, but they have found such a great set of speakers at each of the meetings that the committee has become completely compelling and is increasing in participation, and they're doing important work. I mean, so let me not diminish the work they're doing, not at committee meetings or not at board meetings. It's just been very important. And again, she's not really going anywhere. Marielle, I just think, among other things, you were the taco queen, and I don't mean that. No, it was so impressive. When we did it wasn't really a breakfast, the taco.
It was our taco fiesta. It was
Taco
a
Fiesta in Harvard
Taco
Heights.
Fiesta.
I mean, you just had a huge turnout with so many community members, but you've also, you know, talked to community members over this whole time, listened to them, gotten their opinions, and brought them to the board. And you represented Harvard Heights so very well, and I've always really appreciated that. And Cordell, I think you're here. You led a really good election outreach and election committee 2 years ago, and you've been so active in the avenues. And again, I feel like you're not really going anywhere, since you're still working with Donna on security in that park, but you've been a thoughtful voice at our meetings for 4 years, and again, I really appreciate that. And I'm only talking to the people who are leaving, not the ones who are staying on the board. So, and then Janie, there's Janie, with her friendly face. But Janie got us slow streaks. Janie got us re-engaged with doing community impact statements, or engaged for the first time, really, because UNNC had hardly ever done any community impact statements. And you also engaged us in looking at the city budget and how to make it more equitable. And not necessarily in that order. I think the legacy is probably the slow streaks, because we ended up being one of the communities that will have permanent slow streaks, I believe. So thank you so much. You've accomplished so much in a short time, really. And as well, we're sorry to have learned that this is exciting news for Janie, but she and her family are moving to New Mexico. So exciting for them, less exciting for us, but thank you. So those are my speeches. Does anybody else have things they'd like to say? Dorit.
Sorry. Regrettably, Tori is not here at the moment, but I want to say Tori is a hoot. She's just such a ball of fire and energy and just positiveness. Love her meetings are well attended. She brings everyone in. She doesn't dictate from top. She just brings everyone in to share their experience and to give their input. So I'm glad she's not going anywhere. Janie, you and I have actually never even seen each other in person, but I feel like you're one of the closest people I have on this board because we've worked together so well. I'm going to miss you. I'm really happy that you're going someplace that you and your family can like thrive, but it's been really cool working with you. So everyone else, great too. I just wanted to give a shout out to the two people I worked with the most, and good luck to everybody.
Thank you. Greg,
I'll make my comments to the body as a whole. The concept of the team working together, everyone bringing their skills, their thoughts, their passion. I love that. I love hearing what you think. I love you allowing me space to share my thoughts on things. And I love the commitment that we have that we're working together for our community. And it is service for our community. And I see that in each of you, and I honor you, and I respect you, and I send good vibes to you. And as Laura said, if we could do a in-person hug, I will give you a side hug and say, blessings to you, and thank you so much, and stay strong and keep in touch.
Lizzie,
Yes, hello everyone. I will also address everyone as a whole. It's been my pleasure and my honor to work with you. And I'm a crybaby, so I'm already crying, you know that. But just wanted to say that this is not an easy job. Even though it's not a job, but we work very hard at this. And just want to say that sometimes we put our lives on hold, sometimes for the work, to work for the community. And so I want to thank you for stepping up and making a difference for the everyday folks that live with us, our neighbors, the stakeholders, and the children, our pets, right? Because they're also our family. So thank you again for making that difference in your community. And wherever you go, Janie, I know you're leaving to another state, so I'm very sad. And we started as friends doing Zumba, and here we are together in the neighborhood council. But it's really been an honor and an inspiration. Really, you guys inspire me every day to keep going and keep doing this. So thank you again.
okay. Are there anybody else who wants to? Hugo.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to Marielle, Tori, Cordell, Gabby, and Janie. Thank you all for all of the work that you all have done. When I first started, I didn't really know anyone. I didn't know who was on the board for how long, but then eventually I started getting to know all of you guys. And I worked more with Tori and Janie. And so Tori's not here. So I'll just say thank you to Janie for all the calls we had about the streets and all sorts of things related to the neighborhood council. It was good working with you, and we'll miss you. So take care. And then with Gabby too, I want to say it was nice working with you on the executive committee while we were able to. Thank you a lot for all of the work that you did with Raheem. I would have liked if everyone stayed longer, but different things happen in life. But either way, I'm happy I had all of these experiences with all of you guys. So take care.
Thank you. Raheem.
Hey, apologies. I'm in my car, and my allergies are also acting up. I'm not crying like Lizzie, but
It's okay.
I want to say thank you definitely to everybody who's leaving. But specifically, I want to really say thank you to both, excuse me, Tori and Marielle. They were both on the board when I first started, and being a new person on the board, kind of like Hugo was just saying, like can be a little bit, can be very intimidating. And I'll just never forget how kind both of them were to me when I first came to the board, and really made me feel like I had a place. And I think when I think about this board, and like Lizzie was saying, this is not a job, but it takes up a lot of our time. So in thinking about these meetings that we come to and all the work that we do, and staying late night, late hours, you're obviously doing the work for the community, but you're also there because of the other people who are there. And I think the more that we can do to kind of create an environment that the two of them really help to foster a kind environment and a welcoming environment, the better we'll be as a board. So thank you guys for showing me that and teaching me that lesson. And I look forward to carrying that on. And thank you to the rest of you. I'm not even going to say goodbye to Gabby because I know we're going to continue to work together very closely, which I'm looking forward to. But thank you to Cordell and to Janie. Thank you guys.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other board members who want to say thank you? Are there any departing board members who through their tears want to say anything at all? Janie.
No, I just want to say thank you to all of you. It's been really a pleasure working with all of you. I've learned so much, and I've felt like we were a team, and it was really inspiring and wonderful to accomplish things together, and be real with each other, and like talk about difficult things sometimes, but come out of it on the other side and make progress and really get to know each other in a really great way. So I've enjoyed all of it, and I'm gonna miss you. So thank you guys.
Cordell.
Yeah, I just really want to echo the sentiment of a lot of the board members. It was definitely my pleasure and my honor to serve with you. I appreciate the kudos for the election committee, but I always maintain I was merely the figurehead, and without Lizzie and Rosie, it would not have been a success. But hopefully, there'll be other opportunities to serve with you guys. And thank you.
Thank you. Marielle.
I've been on this board for over 5 years. And so I've seen so many changes and developments, and just really excited to see this new group and the existing group. And I feel like you guys are going to do great things. And I'm excited to be a community member, not on the board, but just a community member, and to see what y'all do. And best of luck to my fellow retirees, Janie, on your new adventure, and everyone else on what it may bring. But it's been a real pleasure and an honor, and I've learned so much about the city and about how to deal with people and how to think about your neighbors in different ways that I hadn't really considered before, but I really value. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you. And Gabby.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Yeah, echo everything else everyone's already said. It's been a pleasure. I'm very happy that I got to work with all of you, and I'm going to be sticking around. But Janie, congratulations on New Mexico. It sounds like a lot of fun. And I'll be around. So thank you all so much.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, everybody. I see no other hands. So again, I really want, I don't want to say goodbye to people. I know we're saying hello to people as well, and that's exciting. I am personally so happy that such a diverse group of people, and this is over the years. You know, I've been on this board on and off from inception, and was one of the people tapped all those years ago by Council District 10, 4 council members ago, to first of all go to Coro leadership training with 65 community leaders throughout Council District 10. And many of us ended up helping found the neighborhood council system in Council District 10. And I see on the board member rosters throughout CD10, many of the same people are still on the board. So we are aging. So I'm very excited. We have a lot of younger people involved. But what is so beautiful about UNNC is that we are so collaborative. People do take on projects that some of the rest of us might not have dreamed of, and then they're perfect. And I hope that continues. And I hope for those who are leaving, again, even Janie, who's going to be in New Mexico, and I know there's a time difference, please feel free to join us while we're still on Zoom, which looks to be for some while still. And yeah, please don't leave us behind. Okay. And I think I'm going to contact some of you individually because I don't have everybody's home address, but at some point the city will send out certificates, which you may value to put in a frame on your wall. But I'll need to have them sent to the homes. So Janie, I'll need a new address for you. Okay, anything else, or shall we move on to our next agenda item? I think we're moving on. Okay. And the next agenda item back into order is item 5, the 2021-2022 administrative packet and budget. Greg is going to screen share. I believe he may already be doing so. And he is. Okay. Thank you. But Greg, you're mute. So if you're talking, we're not hearing you. Greg? There you go.
Okay, excuse me. I didn't want to hear you talking to my dog, but I forgot to unmute myself. Okay, so the purpose of this is to approve the administrative package, which includes the budget for next year, and it also includes approving the first signer for the BACs, second signer for the BACs, and the card holders. So what I'm going to do is just go do a screen share of the different pages so that we can see what's involved with the package. And again, I want to repeat that what we see in this package is also what we approved for the budget, or we need to approve for the budget. So I don't know if we want to do just one motion for approving the budget and the administrative package, but we can discuss that in a few seconds. So these pages here are just guidelines on what we need to do. The first one is assigning the financial officer, which the financial officer responsible for developing this based upon everyone's input. And then we come down to the pages where we have the second signer for BACs, and that's Hugo. And then the SLAR, they've sent me the sheets that I will include in the package, but you can see their names here for signing the BACs. And then as we go down, we see the first bank card holder. As the treasurer, I review and keep track of the money, but I don't hold the credit cards. So I think that's a really good system, that the individual with the credit card's not the same as the treasurer. That's an added safety factor. So Hugo Rodriguez is one of our card holders, and Laura Myers is our second card holder. So we need to, again, part of our motion is approving both those individuals as the card holders. And then as we go down, this is just examples of what we should have in our budget. So currently we have our annual budget that's been given to us of $32,000. We will have rollover funds eventually, but right now we don't know what that is. When we receive that notification, I will notify the entire board, and then our budget will increase. But for now, we have to set our budget based upon the annual budget of $32,000. The next section is how we have decided to divide the money. And the first section is office and operational expenses. And these, let me move this out of the way. Let me put it up here. These funds are funds based upon historical bills and then upcoming bills. And so you have audio visual, because we may need to purchase and or rent audio visual equipment, copying costs. We set some money aside for training board retreats. We have money set aside for facility related and space rental, because we have a storage place and we may have to pay for some of the office space that we will use. Board meeting refreshments, office equipment supplies, postal supplies, temporary staff. If you recall, we hired a photographer and a designer. And then we have phone services, web page maintenance, business cards, and then we have a blank space for miscellaneous expenses. And that section totals to $17,000 of our budget, okay? Continuing on, then outreach expenditures, then we have $1,000 set aside for advertising, bags, pens, magnets. That's just to get the word out. And then we have $5,000 set aside for different events. That is expanded on the spreadsheet. It's not seen here, but it's seen on the spreadsheet for the budget. Then we have a line for newsletters, but we don't have any money set on that line currently. If you recall, in May, we had some money on the election line, but we removed that as we will not have an election this year. Our next section is the neighborhood purpose grants, NPGs, and this is listed out. We set this based upon what we have done in the past, and generally the amount of money that we have given organizations in the past. We kind of like set aside what we think we might give to them this year. Based upon our budget, we said we plan on giving $1,000 to Dynasty Youth Foundation, that's the tutoring services. And then we have some of the historical organizations that we have supported in the past. And then we have one new request. This, of course, does not mean that we are locked in stone to giving money to these organizations. It just gives us a guideline to work with. And then, so that's the NPG. And then we have the community improvement projects. And then on this section, we have specific neighborhood projects where we want to focus on giving funds to specific neighborhoods, like Ms. Donna mentioned a cleanup in her neighborhood. So these funds could be used for things like that, supporting efforts like that. And then one of the things that we proposed was money set aside for reaching out to schools. There's some comments or discussion about this. We may move this, but again, this is just a placeholder. The thinking behind that, when put it in the budget, was that would be one of our ways to reaching to the schools and then involving parents, community members with UNNC. That total amount is $6,000. This is a summary of all of those funds. 17K, as we saw earlier, outreach expenses, as we saw earlier, general operation expenses, and then neighborhood purpose grants, community improvement, and that's the $32,000. Okay. Any questions about the money or the allocation of the funds?
Dorit has her hand up.
Yes, ma'am.
Greg, this is a lot of work. Thank you for doing it. I don't envy you your job. I'm a little bit uncomfortable though that we're listing nonprofits and organizations under neighborhood purpose grants right away. I understand you're saying it's a placeholder, but I'd feel more comfortable voting on this if we just had the dollar amount there of, I believe it was 6,000. If we just had it there without having the name of the agents or the name of the organizations there, like it says, to me, it says we're promising to fund them. So I understand that we can say no to that, but I would be more comfortable if there wasn't any organizations listed there.
Noted.
And Hugo,
Chris.
then Chris, Hugo, then Chris, and then Dorit, I think, no, she took her hand back down. So Hugo next, then Chris, then Marielle.
Yeah, I was just gonna say thank you, Greg, for all of the work. And I kind of agree with Dorit about that. My concern with listing the individual nonprofits is that although we have the ability to change it in the future, if we keep their names right there, it might make us biased towards approving those before we even vote for them. And so I think it would be good to just have a general placeholder just with the $3,000 amount, and just to have those nonprofits as a reference, but not necessarily allocated to those nonprofits right off the bat. And then, yeah, I think we're gonna vote for the budget more in depth with our next governing. So I'm not sure when would be a better time to vote on that, either right now or the next meeting.
Hugo, I'm going to interject. We have to vote on a budget right now. I mean, in the next 10 minutes, because we have to turn it in with a deadline of tomorrow. But it's changeable with a new board. And then we turn it in again. And if we change it again, we turn it in again. But we don't have an option to not turn it in tomorrow. So
Right, I meant more of when it would be better to spend the time talking about changing that aspect that Dorit and I mentioned. If it would be better to do it right now.
No, we could change that aspect if the board agrees, but we have to vote on this packet tonight. Just as a parameter, you know, some things are etched in stone, and this is one. So we'll come back to that, but we have some hands raised. Chris? You're mute. Yeah, there you are.
I'm unmuted. I would, if we're through the budget, I would like to make a motion that we pass the budget with the modification that Dorit and Hugo made, because I agree completely that we should just state the amount for our grant funds and not pre-identify any individual.
Okay. Chris, we can't make a motion yet, but I'm writing it all down.
Okay.
Marielle?
I'm happy to vote for this with the understanding, obviously, that you guys are going to tweak it going forward, but I am concerned about the amount of money for outreach and communications versus the amount of money that we're using for grants and neighborhood events, stuff like that. I feel like I wasn't anticipating that the temporary staff would be additional to the costs for the website, because by my math, the website math is like over $700 a month, which seems like a lot of money in addition to the graphic designer and the photographer. And so I'm not quite sure if we're doing all that outreach, but we only have $3,000 or $5,000 to give to our community. That seems like maybe not the best use of our funds, or maybe we could be more efficient about that. But I also recognize how valuable it is, and that I know that the communications committee is doing a lot of kind of brand redevelopment, which I think is also very important. So I just wanted to throw that out there going forward, that I would feel more comfortable if we took some of that money and reallocated it towards giving back to our community and spent the outreach communications budget slightly more efficiently. And I think that's it.
Okay.
All right, so Madam President,
Hey,
what
yeah,
I-
hang on. I'm just trying to post something and keep the waiting room going and call on people. So I'm just trying to post something. So I'm doing how about, instead of specifying, how about a generic holding place and call it Npgs to be granted to nonprofit 501c3 organizations that have projects that benefit our community and stakeholders. Would everyone be good with that, Greg?
How about, can you see what I have new requests here? What I can do is just make 1, 2, 3, 4 new request lines.
Well, if you want to just say new request, new request, new request, new
Yes,
request.
I can do that. I can do that because that's,
Does that satisfy everybody on that piece?
Without the dollar amount, so there wouldn't be one new request for $1,000 and the rest new request for 500.
no, I could do 6 and they all can be $500. Because remember, well, maybe in prior years, we just had everything set at $500. But let me just make this argument. The reason for putting the current names in the budget is because it shows the relationship that we've had with those organizations. And it shows the ongoing commitment that UNNC has had in the past with those organizations. And that way it just frames our thinking more that we're supporting tutoring. We're supporting the library because those are things that we historically we knew were important to us. And if we don't have it in front of us, we might forget that we did that. But having said that, let me do this. I could add, this is just a proposal. Okay, and then I'll just make this, I can make this 500. Then I could do, I could just put the request in all of them.
Right.
And then,
Yeah, because Greg,
yes,
it is possible that in the footnotes of the budget, you could just list places. But the thing is, I hear what you're saying, but we have a new board and we may have unrelated requests that are totally unrelated to the requests we've had recently.
right,
Right.
right.
So
And
Chris
that's-
Chris has her hand up. I don't know if she's trying to respond to
think she
this
just
or
didn't take
a
it
new
down.
idea. But Chris, go ahead.
I feel like our meeting notes actually record our history about what we've done in the past and our past budgets and what we've actually spent money on. But I don't think budgets going forward should predetermine or even pre-imply where money will go. I even think it would be maybe beneficial to our community as a whole that we say we're going to do so many grants at $500, that we actually have a deadline and we advertise extensively the whole community so that can be a more wider net of opportunity rather than just those who might know and first in best dressed. But that could be discussed later. But I do think keeping it neutral for the future is the best way to go.
Okay, so I think Greg has accomplished neutrality in putting new requests in instead of the names. And I'm just trying to move us along because, you know, we really have a
Okay.
big agenda. And,
All right.
and I'm not trying to overlook the other comments, but I will also remind everyone, it's unfortunate, but we did this on purpose. We have up in the operations, general administration, all of that, half our budget. The reason is we all need to be realistic right now on June 29th. 2021, when there are so many unknowns ahead of us for spending, related to will we need to be in hybrid meetings or not? I mean, we'll talk about this later in the night, but we may need to be paying money that we've never had to pay before for technology, for room rentals, for storage. So on a realistic basis, we have to have, for now, the money tied up until we know it doesn't have to be tied up. We talked about this on June 3rd and actually voted this sort of split previously. So we can't be fiscally irresponsible and put forth a budget that has lots and lots of money for the community and get everybody excited and then find out we can't spend it. So it's better to do it this way, and hopefully we'll have more money to spend on community projects and MPGs.
Hey,
So-
I just have a viewing. When I just switched to the to this, can everyone see that, the spreadsheet? Can we see that?
No, we're still looking at
At the other one? Okay.
but remember, we have to look at the last couple of pages of this.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Okay. I just want understand the comments about the percentage of the budget that's in operational, and it is 53% of our budget.
Right.
That did concern me as I was doing the analysis, but it is related to outreach and getting the word out.
Right.
Okay, so we made that modification on the new request for neighborhood purpose grants. And I think everything else is okay for now.
Right.
But with-
And then
with some
if you could move to the end of this, because we have
Yeah, yeah.
other things on it.
Okay, so this is just information about property that we will lease and use. So if and when we meet again, we will meet in the Gramercy Place apartment complex community room on, it says Wilton Place, but on the corner of Wilton Place and Washington. So we'll meet there. We also have a public storage place, which we have made keys that I guess I'll give. Lizzie has a key. I have a key, and I guess I'll give a key to our president for next year. So we have a public storage place for storing our items. We have the post office box that we included in the package. And then we have a website services that Ann Zwinkle provides to us. And that's the end of our administrative budget. We had an administrative. All right, so with those modifications, well, Laura, do you want to present the motion as you have it down?
Yeah.
Can I stop sharing? Anybody else want to see this?
Yes, please.
Okay, it's such a lovely document. I know y'all want to look at it all day long.
Okay,
Okay.
so
So
I'm doing it.
yeah, then I'll put it on the BAC. I have the BACs ready if you just put it in the chat.
Okay, so what this is a technical approval. I'm hoping it's going to be okay with everyone. Approve UNNC's 2021-2022 administrative packet, including the proposed budget, and you see how it was amended. And approve the following financial officers: Greg Jackson, treasurer; Hugo Rodriguez, second signer; Laura Myers, alternative signer; Hugo Rodriguez, first bank card holder; and Laura Myers, second bank card holder. Dorit.
When we have new elections in a couple next month, the officers may change. So at that time, we will change the names of who is if anyone else wants to be treasurer, or if
Right.
Hugo is no longer the second signer, we'll be able to change it then, right?
Yeah.
Cool,
Right.
thank you.
Let's just be clear. There's only 3 of us on this entire board who have taken the proper training. So
I've taken it.
within
have
the
taken
last within the
Yes.
last 2 years.
I took it a few months ago.
Perfect.
Not that I want Greg's job, but I just I took it.
Yeah. So what I was going to say is, with the exception of the treasurer, all the other ones need not be executive committee members. And so, we'll just have to nuance it, because what we don't want to do necessarily is find ourselves with no cardholders. So you always want to vote that, you can have a tentative approval of a new person and then they go take their training and then we do a real vote after if that's what's going to happen. So right now we're this is a strong suggestion. You don't have to take it. That Hugo and I just keep on signing those BACs and holding those credit cards. That's why we did it this way. For now, we need to do it this way, unless Dorit, you suddenly want to be one of these people.
No, thank you.
Okay.
And just for everyone to know, if I am not going to arm wrestle anyone that wants to be the treasurer, so if you step up, you can have at it.
Right. So
Just let
this
you
is
know.
on a practical basis. We learned a lesson last time out, or where we brought in all new people and nobody was qualified, so we couldn't spend money for a while. So let's not do that again. Anyway, so if this is okay, well, does somebody want to make this motion and somebody want to second it?
Nancy makes the motion.
Okay.
Chris
And
Carlson seconds.
who does?
Chris Carlson.
Okay. And this would be a BAC. So Greg, I'm going to call it and you'll write it.
I'll record it. Yeah. I'll record
Okay.
it.
So if board members could unmute, and I'm not sure exactly who's here, so I'm going to do this. I hope, I'm going to call everybody's name and we'll see who's not here. Jasmine.
Yes.
Okay. Dorit.
Yes.
John Arnold is absent. Gabby.
Yes.
Tori is absent. Paul.
Yes.
Carlos. He was here and he was having audio problems.
I'm here.
Yeah, he's ineligible.
Carlos.
So
Ineligible though. Thank you.
he's ineligible. Hurrah, simplify.
Okay. Laura, yes. Hugo.
Yes.
Paula.
Yes.
Raheem may not be here. Okay. Raheem is absent for this vote. Isaac.
Yes.
Marielle.
Yes.
Hugh.
Yes.
Cordell.
Yes.
Michael, I believe, is absent. Yes. Chris.
Yes.
Chris,
Greg.
hold on. Chris, did you finish your funding training?
I am trained on all three and Accra.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Okay. Greg.
Yes.
Nancy.
Yes.
I believe Janie has left. Janie?
Okay.
Janie's absent. And Lizzie.
Yes.
Okay, motion
Thank you,
passed.
Greg.
Thank you, my friends. Thank you, family. Okay,
Okay.
motion passed.
Motion
Save
passed.
it.
Can we speed through the monthly expenditure report because we are now through?
Yeah. So let me bring it up. Boom. Where is it? Excuse me. Treasurer.
Okay, so are you, Greg, do you have the monthly expenditure report?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Excuse me. Okay, sorry. Okay, can everyone see this?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so this is the monthly expenditure report for May. This is not the final one for the year. We have another one for this physical year. But for the month of May, we spent $587. And then at that time, it said that we had remaining balance $30,694. That, of course, that is not the case currently, but for the month of May, that was our balance at the time. And then it shows what we had for our adopted budget. And then it goes down and talks about what we actually spent money on, the Facebook, for Anne, and for, we gave it a neighborhood purpose grant for Dynasty Youth Association, and then we supported the Arlington Heights Neighborhood Association, so it's $5,000 spent there. So any questions on the May MERS? Okay, if not, I make a motion that we approve the May monthly expenditure report.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it, Dorit.
Dorit seconds.
Okay.
Board members, unmute yourself, please. I'm going to call the roll. Greg, you're going to write it, right?
I am writing, yes.
Okay. Jasmine,
Yes.
Dorit,
Yes.
John Arnold is absent. Gabby,
Yes.
Tori is absent. Paul,
Yes.
Carlos,
Laura,
yes.
I'm sorry. Could you pause for just 1 second, because
You're
I'm-
being licked. You're being licked to death by the
you're
dog.
not supposed to play. So I'm sorry, guys. So I'll be right back. Okay.
Okay, well, you know what?
You just write it down.
You know what? I'm
Yeah,
gonna
I just-
continue because I actually have the answer.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I just need to move her out of the room. Okay.
Carlos, did you say yes? I'm sorry.
You gotta go up there. They gotta work. Okay. Go up there.
I did, but
Okay, good. The next person on the BAC, because we're being recorded, is me, Laura, yes. Hugo.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Paula,
Yes.
Raheem, is he back yet? Okay, absent for the vote.
Sorry.
Isaac,
Yes.
Marielle,
Yes.
Hugh,
Yes.
Cordell,
Yes.
Michael is absent. Chris,
Yes, yes.
Greg is maybe
Yes.
absent for this.
I'm
Oh,
back.
back.
I'm back.
Okay, is that a yes?
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Janie is absent. Lizzie.
Yes.
Okay, so Greg, I will give you this BAC, but
Thank
that's
you. Again, my apologies.
no
Jeez.
problem. Okay. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is number 7, appoint Sarah Lacey to Region 5 Resident Representative, Seat 1, Group A, 2025. So you might be wondering why the heck we're doing this. Hi, Sarah. Sarah and several other people, including Janie, ran for this seat in the election. And Janie had put in her withdrawal from the election because she was moving to New Mexico and would no longer be eligible for the resident seat in Area 5 for Jefferson Park. But people voted for her anyway, and we ended up with a tie vote. Janie got 18 votes and Sarah got 18 votes, and the other people, Lizzie, do you remember, did they get any votes? But it was de minimis. So on a practical basis, Sarah lives here, Janie's ineligible, and Janie had actually withdrawn, but her name was still on the ballot. The city clerk is kind of being, they're following the rules, and they're saying they need to do a public drawing of lots to see who wins, but Janie is moving to New Mexico tomorrow and is ineligible. So what the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment said we could do is simply appoint Sarah to the seat and call it a day. So Sarah, if you can unmute yourself and say hello.
Hi.
Right. And Lizzie, Lizzie is our elections chair, and you agree with this, right?
Certainly so. Yes, of course.
Okay, so do you want to, is there any discussion? No hands up. So Lizzie, do you want to make a motion to appoint Sarah to this seat?
I move to appoint Sarah Lacey to be our representative for Area 5,
Yes.
Group B. No, Group
A.
Group A.
I second. This is Paula.
Okay. Lizzie moves, Paula seconds to appoint Sarah Lacey to Region 5, Seat A. I'm going to shorthand this. There you go. That's the motion. Greg, are we back on board without the pup?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna read the roll, unless there's any other comments on this. And guys, I'm really sorry that I have to do this in the same order, but otherwise I'm just too distracted with running the Zoom and watching for the waiting room and everything else. So board members, unmute yourself. Jasmine.
Yes.
Okay, Dorit.
Yes.
John is absent. Gabby.
Yes.
Tori is absent. Paul.
Yes.
Carlos. Carlos.
Yes, sorry, my mute.
Thank
button
you.
is stubborn.
Laura's a yes. Hugo.
Yes.
Paula.
Yes.
Why?
Raheem, is he back yet? No. Raheem is absent. Isaac. Okay, board members, can you unmute? Yeah, please all unmute yourself, board members. So Isaac said yes.
Why is this doing this?
Marielle.
Yes.
Hugh.
Yes.
Cordell.
Yes.
Michael is absent. Chris.
Yes.
Greg.
Yes.
Nancy.
Oh, yes.
Janie is absent. And Lizzie.
Yes.
Okay, Sarah, welcome to the board.
Yay.
As of July 1, not tonight. but thank you for coming tonight. And let's move on to our next agenda item. Okay, which is the whole group of planning and zoning cases. Starting with case number DIR 2021-3086 TOC HCA PSH, which stands for Permanent Supportive Housing, 1808 South St. Andrews. And I think I saw Doyle here. Doyle, do me a favor, raise your hand so you move to the top of this list for a minute. Oh, there you are. And are you going to be, Doyle, are you going to be the presenter?
Hello.
Hi, Doyle. Are you going to be the presenter?
Oh, hey, Laura, I am. Want to
So you're gonna
apologize.
make-
It looks like I'm having an audio issue, or not audio, a visual issue with my camera.
Okay, but will you be able to share the screen? You want to try? I just made you
I
a
can.
co-host. So,
Okay.
okay. So if you
All right.
want to introduce yourself and, do what we talked about, speed Zoom. Anyway.
Yep. All right. So, my name is Dylan Coyle. I'm with Clifford Beers Housing, and we're here to talk about our project, the Steps on St. Andrews at 1808 South St. Andrews Place. So, a little about us. Clifford Beers Housing is a nonprofit housing developer that focuses on affordable and supportive housing. While we are focused on getting people off the street, we believe that healthy and strong communities are comprised of a range of income levels, needs levels, and backgrounds. And we try and make our projects reflect that so that they're not all just one income level or only people from who have been homeless in the past. This project that we're doing today it has a rehab component. So I just want to point out that we have done rehab projects before. This one, Emmanuel Senior Housing in Long Beach, was a church in its prior life. We were able to convert it to housing while still preserving its most important architectural features. So Clifford Beers is experienced. We've done 13 developments that are either completed or under construction, and we have 3 more behind it in pre-development that have not broken ground yet, for a total of 776. So the project is between Venice Boulevard and Washington Boulevard, next to Western Avenue, just north of the 10 freeway. And today, it's this craftsman home that has some good bones, but it hasn't been occupied since 2008, so it could use a little bit of love. And this project is going to do that and bring this community asset back into action, while also putting it to work to help get people off the street in LA. So this project is going to be 20 units, 8 in the existing house and 12 units in the newly constructed building behind it, with a community room in between with a deck on it. So it's going to be a mixture of permanent supportive and affordable units. The people concerned will provide supportive services. The city owns and will continue to own the land and will ground lease it to Clifford Beers Housing. Southern facing rooftops will have solar panels, and there will not be parking on the site. This is it's a small project, again, only 20 units, and our tenant population tends not to own cars. And the buildings on either side of it do have parking in them. So there's not an accumulation of buildings that don't. So with the transit-oriented communities, through transit-oriented communities, we are able to entitle the project without parking, but beyond that, we think it's just what's appropriate for this site. So now I'm going to turn it over to our architect to tell you a little about our design and the ideas that went behind it.
Yeah, thank you, Dylan. Actually, can you go back to the previous image just 1 second before we go to this one? Just as a clarification, my name is Lorcan O'Hurley, founder, design principal of Lorcan O'Hurley Architects, or for short, LOHA. One of the key issues of the project here is also through this perspective. You can see, as Dylan had mentioned, there's 3 components: the existing house, central community room, and new 3-story addition. Where one of the key issues to this image here is you can get to see where were the DNA of the new and how it's kind of, what is it really engaging with the existing house. Clearly, you can see the roof line is something that was a very important component of the project. So it has this quality where it has breathing space between both structures with a central area, central community room, and then the outer area above it. So this is a very good perspective that shows that idea. Thanks. Next. And the basic concept, the layout of the project incorporates 8 units in the front existing house and 12 units in the 3-story structure in the back. With, as discussed, central community, and we really wanted to engage this roof deck, which creates this kind of very interesting dynamic visual between the 2 buildings. And I think here, this section, you begin to see how by pulling the elements apart and then drop the scale between the 2, it starts to accomplish that. Next. Again, it illustrates the concept of old and new with central community room between, and also the curved landscape. Front and backyards also provide ample outdoor amenity spaces. So that's a larger concept of that, where we had to reconfigure the existing house from the interior space, be able to also have a quality of space and a connectivity between the community room to the units in the back. And you can, of course, see in the front and back areas where we're providing this green space. Next. And as discussed, we do have an elevated roof deck, which creates the central amenity between the 2 spaces. So that's also an important aspect, doing green space between the 2. Next. And of course, on the 3rd level, you do see the new constructed 3-story towards the back of the site, where you can see in this drawing. And of course, there are 20 units in total. So what's critical also is the importance of sustainability and aim to fit what we can within the existing house with new solar panels as well. So that's awfully important. So we wanted to fit all those components to it. So you can see on the next image, the perspective. And this also really talks about how you stitch proportions, scale, massing a building, and also trying to engage the context as well. So this starts to show how we try to connect with all those elements in terms of really maintain the existing house, celebrate the existing house, but also bring the opportunity for more housing in the back area. So this is kind of a very important perspective of that, the street perspective view. Next. And again, you can see on the side view here, it starts to begin to a real clear understanding of the distinction between and separation between the old and new through the materiality. And of course, in the central community room, you can begin to see the proportions and the scale of it. Next one. And again, this shows the context. One of the key issues here is that you can see that we kept the bulk of the massing towards the back of the site, which is adjacent to a similar scale 3-story development on Mahan Place. So this is an important component as well. You can see within the new structure, we dropped the scale towards the front, but pushed the density towards the back, which is the scale where it's proportioned consistent with the buildings behind. And that shows you a quick overview of all of our components of our project. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We have a motion from the Planning and Zoning Committee, but I do want to know if there's any questions or comments. Dorit?
I love this. I'm positively in love with the design and how you're going to do it and save the building. Question. I know it's for formerly homeless individuals. Do you know how the individuals will be picked to live there? Will it be through the coordinated entry system, or will it be through different qualifiers? Like, are you getting Department of Mental Health funding or Department of Health Services funding or VA funding? So do you know how people will be picked?
So it will be through the coordinated entry system. We do also anticipate that there will be funding from the Department of Health Services for through Measure H for supportive services.
Thank you.
Okay, Greg?
My question related to the comment that the occupants would be mixed income. So, so is that correct? You have people that are coming from the homeless community. Okay, and so then that leads me to my next concern is that I am always concerned about new construction and then the request to not provide parking. And with this specific project, you stated that there would be no parking at all for it. So I anticipate there will be some people, since it's mixed income, some people that will have a car and there's just no parking with that. But again, that's just a concern that I have. I don't really think that you can really add anything to that concern.
Okay, Dylan, do you want to address that?
It's worth bringing up. So I would note that for this project, while they will not all be at the same income level, there are no true market rate units in it. It is 100% affordable, which is how we're able to have no parking in the first place. Right now, it looks like the highest income units would be 60% of AMI right now. So that also helps us a little on the with regard to the demand for parking.
Okay. Teresa, then Hugo, and then I have my own hand up after that.
Thank you, Laura. I have a question regarding the roof deck. Will there be greenery on the roof deck? And if so, what is the plant selection? And also, are there trees in front of this, the original building? And if not, will you be putting in trees? So first on the roof deck, yes, we do want to get some sort of greenery up there. That is still to be determined, like what exactly that's going to be. We have not, while we have a landscape architect on board, that the precise details of what species are going to go in have not been defined. But we do anticipate that there's going to be some sort of plant life up there, preferably with some sort of shade. And regarding trees on the existing property, especially in the front, there is currently one tree on the sidewalk, well, like right in front of the building. Like if you go onto Street View, you'll see one tree there that's kind of leaning. And then I think there's one other tree in the front that's not particularly large, and it's either dead or in pretty rough shape. But we do want to add probably more than one tree to the front. So when you say you want to, does that mean you're making a commitment to do it? We can commit to that. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Hugo? You're muted.
All right, there. So you mentioned that it's going to be mixed income and that the most expensive units will be 60% of the AMI.
Yes.
And what will be the distribution of the units? Like, are a majority of them going to be extremely low income, or is it like a quarter, a third, or what exactly is the ratio?
Yes, so the largest share of the units are going to be extremely low income. The 60% units, there will be 4 units at 60% of AMI, plus the manager's unit. And then the rest will be at 15 to 45% of AMI, with the majority at 30%.
Okay, thank you. And okay, and you mentioned it was going to be 0 parking, right?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, so what I'd like to do is post, it was on the agenda, but post the the motion from, well, does it say? Okay, yeah. Post the motion from Planning and Zoning Committee, which is that the committee recommends to the governing board that it support the project and the requests as presented, support the request for the reduced open space and side yard, but there's no but there, but agreeing to paint the house and thus the rear with sympathetic paint colors, and materials that relate to the period being 1908, 1910, and landscaping that includes both edibles and native plants. So that is the proposed motion from the Planning and Zoning Committee. And I think, Teresa, it addresses, I think, your concern. The landscape plans actually do show or reference citrus trees. So that's where the edibles come in, not necessarily a vegetable garden, which is annual. Anyway, so if y'all like that motion, will somebody be willing to make that motion? Because John's not here with us tonight.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Well, no, are you making, I'm sorry, I lost all that. Who made it? Who seconded?
I made it.
Greg made it.
Greg moves, Hugh seconds. All right. And is there any other questions for our presenters or further discussion? Well, Greg, you ready? Let's call that roll.
Let's go.
Okay. Board members, if you would please unmute yourself so when I call your name, you're ready to vote. Jasmine.
Yes.
Dorit.
Yes.
John Arnold is absent.
Can we stop the screen share?
Will do.
Thank you.
Gabby.
Yes.
You got that, Greg?
Yes, we're good.
Tori is absent. Paul,
Yes.
Carlos,
Yes.
Laura. I'm actually, in the excess of caution, I am not going to vote. I realize that as the crow flies, my house might be too close to this one. Maybe it is and maybe it's not from my back 40.
So you're gonna abstain?
So I guess so. I mean, I think maybe I should be recused, but that probably brings a different problem. So I'll abstain.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Too
I'll
late now.
abstain.
Too late now.
I've been participating. I will.
Yeah, it's too late now.
Yeah. No, I haven't actually measured. I'm just saying I might be too close and I might not be. Depends how you measure. All right, Hugo.
Yes.
Okay, Paula.
Yes.
Raheem.
He made it back.
Gonna abstain.
Raheem's abstaining. Isaac.
Yes.
Marielle.
Yes.
Hugh.
Yes.
Cordell. Cordell. I didn't hear Cordell.
Didn't hear the Cordell. Nope. Absent.
He's absent at least for the vote, yeah. Michael is absent.
Absent.
Chris?
Yes.
Okay. Greg?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Janie is absent.
Oh, actually, I'm back, and yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, Janie.
Sorry, getting kids to bed.
Right, so what, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. And Lizzie?
Yes.
Okay, we're done. Greg?
Yeah, we're good.
Did the motion pass? I think
Oh
it
yeah,
did.
it passed.
Okay. Jen, are you presenting the next item? Okay.
Yeah.
Hang on. So now I have to find you again and make you a host.
Great.
Perfect. So our next item on this agenda is, hang on. See, I'm moving so fast that it slows me down. Oh boy, yeah. Case number CPC 2019-5425. And so I'll start with CPC stands for Planning Commission. DB is a density bonus. MCUP, Master Conditional Use Permit. SPP is a specific plan approval. ZAI is a zoning administrator's, I want to say adjustment, but that doesn't seem right. So Jen, you'll correct me if I'm wrong. SPR is site plan review, and PHB, I have no clue. That's the case number. This is the Crenshaw Crossing project. It's a transit priority project, TPP, mixed use development. It's a joint development with the Los Angeles Metro and Los Angeles County. And the project is located on the southern corners of Exposition and Crenshaw Boulevards where they intersect. So that, in other words, it's also where the Exposition light rail and the LAX Crenshaw light rail intersect. The project description is 401 residential units with 20% of the total units, or in other words, 81 units, reserved for very low income households, and approximately 41,000 square feet of commercial and community space. It's allowed to do a CEQA streamlining process known as Sustainable Communities Environmental Assessment. And that's based on an analysis of the project's potential impacts that there are no significant or unmitigatable environmental impacts. So therefore, the project's proceeding with that clearance. And so, Jen, if I got anything wrong, just go ahead and tell me. And otherwise, go ahead and present the project and introduce yourself, please.
I will. Thank you, Laura. I think you almost covered the entire presentation there. I'll try and stick to my 5-minute limit. I'm Jen McEllier. I'm a partner with the Watt Companies. We're the developer of this project in partnership with Los Angeles CDC. I want to acknowledge some of the team members on the phone real quick. I see Erica Freeman from Los Angeles and Armin Ross and Tony Nicholas from our outreach team. So I will jump right into it. As Laura mentioned, we will be, well, right now we're circulating the SKIA, the CEQA document for its public comment period. Once that is complete, it will actually go to City Council and Plum Committee for approval. So that's the SKIA path. On the entitlement path, we are scheduled for July 7th, a joint hearing examiner advisory agency hearing. So that will be the first hearing for the project entitlement. As Laura mentioned, this is a joint development with Metro and LA County. So if you see on the screen, just to orient yourself, we will be building on the two sites. We actually will not own the land. The land will continue to be owned by Metro on the eastern parcel and county on the western parcel, and we will be ground leasing the site. To the north of it, you'll see West Angeles Cathedral. And we've been in process on this project for 4 years. We won the RFP with Metro, the RFP was issued in 2017, and we've effectively been doing 3 years of community outreach, and the last year has been processing the entitlement documentation and completing the environmental SKIA document. So really, this project program has been informed by so many stakeholder conversations, town halls, meetings with all the adjacent neighborhood councils. And so what we've programmed is really trying to address a number of things that the community has indicated are necessary. Obviously, more housing. This is for rent, 401 units between the two buildings that you see on your screen, 40,000 square feet of ground floor commercial, of which 25,000 square feet or 23,000 to 28,000 square feet, but we'll probably end up at around 25,000 square feet will be set aside for a grocer, a full service grocer. And then the remaining space are restaurants. We have a Metro bike hub. And then there will be 3,000 square feet of community space for meetings. We have a 502 parking stall garage. And I just want to make a comment on the parking. The parking is really a triangulation between the cap that's imposed on us by planning, a cap on parking that's imposed on us by Metro, and then community feedback from the immediately adjacent neighbors who have pushed us to at least provide 1 stall per market rate unit and half a stall per affordable unit. And then we have 3 stalls per 1,000 square feet of commercial uses. So that's predominantly providing the ability for parking for people coming to shop at the grocery store. We have committed to setting aside 20% of the units at low income affordability. We are still targeting 50% affordable housing. That's something we're working towards and are hoping to fully be able to commit to by the time we go to Planning Commission. That would include moderate income housing as well. So that's just something I wanted to point out. That is still an objective for this project, but we have as a baseline committed to 81 units at low income levels of affordable housing. This is a quick summary of the entitlement ask. We will be doing a tract map to subdivide the commercial from the residential and then separately subdivide the affordable units from the market rate units. And that's really for the purposes of creating, of obtaining the tax credit. The units will be scattered throughout the building. So it won't be, a separate building for the affordable. We are entitling this under a density bonus. I think the key incentive that we're asking for to highlight is an 11 additional feet beyond the Crenshaw specific plan in height. And then along Victoria, we're asking for 4 additional feet where we have a significant setback down to 30 feet. And then there are some setbacks and open space reductions that we've had to ask for to accommodate the building footprint because we are also subject to the Metro infrastructure. So the portal to the LAX Crenshaw line is in the middle of the site. So we've had to sort of work around some of the easements and Metro transit build out in order to deliver this building. We are asking for a conditional use permit for on-site and off-site alcohol sales. The off-site alcohol sales are limited to the grocery store. Project permit compliance with the specific plan, and then site plan review is automatically triggered because of the size of the project. Laura mentioned the SKIA. For those of you who aren't familiar with the SKIA, it's a project or it's a new streamlining method for projects that are on transit that deliver a significant amount of residential uses. And under the SKIA, you are able to have a streamlined environmental review process if you have, if all of your impacts can be mitigated to a level that is below a level of significance. We had 3 instances where we had significant impacts, but they can all be mitigated to a level below significance. And the 2 ones that I want to point out that would really have an impact on the community are air quality and noise. And those relate to the construction phase. Construction noise and air quality related to truck idling and dust coming off of the construction site. And so there will be monitoring happening during the construction phase, watering down the site so we don't have dust blowing off and going into the air. And then noise monitors, both people who monitor the noise and then also machines that monitor the noise so that it stays below a certain level and a certain duration during the construction period. That, I think, is the quick overview. I think, you know, Laura, if it's okay with you, I'm definitely available if there are any questions.
Yeah, it's fine with me to not leave the SCEA findings up on the screen. If you want to go back to the pictures.
Yeah, we have some pictures just to keep up on the screen.
Yeah, unless it becomes difficult to for me to see hands, well, that'd be a good thing. Okay.
Okay.
So I did have some email back and forth with the hearing officer, Alan Como, and he did explain that what'll happen is there's a hearing on July 7, a public hearing, everyone can go, regardless of what UNNC does tonight. For all of those in the audience, if what UNNC does tonight is not what you want, you'll be allowed to go to the hearing and say what you want. The environmental goes then at the same time, it starts moving forward to City Council. And then once City Council approves, assuming it does approve the environmental clearance, both things, the hearing officers sort of report of the testimony and recommendation plus the environmental then together go to the Planning Commission, or so it seems from his explanation. This is maybe one of the first SCEAs, so it may not work out just exactly like that. So it's a different process. We have a couple of hands raised so far. We have Jasmine and then Rosie. And Jasmine, you're muted. Oh, there you go.
Hi, thanks so much for this presentation. I guess I just had a question regarding the affordability and why, sorry, give me just a second. Sorry, I had a question regarding the affordability and like when it's going to be determined whether or not you all will be able to accommodate the 50% affordability, affordable units.
So we're still working through basically finding enough financing to support reducing more of the units to a lower income level, or basically a lower rental range. And so that's something that we're formulating over the next, I'm hopeful we'll know definitively 60 days. And our goal is to have this announcement by the time we're coming to CPC, the Planning Commission hearing. So it's all, I guess, just to give a very high level summary of putting together an affordable housing project, you have to go to a number of funding sources. It's not just tax credits, it's all sorts of other subsidies that you have to apply for and petition for, and you don't know when you're going to get those. And so that's what we're working on trying to put together the financing package so we can increase the amount of affordable units in the project. So timeline wise, I'd say depending on whether we make it through City Council and the plum hearings without appeals or delays, it should be in the next 2 to 3 months.
Right. And I guess I should mention that it sounds like City Council is taking most of July off anyway. So, yeah, so this is not going to be, it's still not going to be a speed demon project. Okay, I've got Rosie, then Chris, then Teresa, then Cheryl. And I guess looking at the clock, sorry guys, but let's try and keep our questions to like a minute because then Jen has to respond. Rosie.
Hi, is the 6 restaurant something newly added?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand. Is the what newly added?
Are the up to 6 restaurants something new that you just added?
No, I think we're asking for up to 6 restaurants. I don't think we'll have enough space, candidly, because the grocer is going to take the majority. Generally, when you ask for approval for conditional use permits, such as alcohol sales, you try and ask for the maximum amount of space that you would be able to populate with restaurants. But because we're already dedicating the majority of our space to the grocer, we only really have space for about 2 restaurants at the property. And right now we're only in discussions with 1 restaurant for the space. It's we're in early negotiations with a local restaurant concept in the Crenshaw area for that. So you sort of over ask. Right now we're not planning for more than 2.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, no problem.
Okay, Chris.
Did I understand you correctly that you said you had 3 parking spaces set aside for the grocery and the restaurants?
Sorry if that wasn't clear. It's 3 per 1,000 square feet of commercial space. So because we have 40,000 square feet, that would be 120 parking stalls for the grocery store and the other uses.
Thank you.
Okay. Teresa.
Hi, I have a question regarding landscaping and in particular trees. It appeared that one of the renderings you had showed jacarandas. So I'd like to know, have you already made your tree selections? And if not, will you be willing to work with the UNNC to determine what the tree selections would be?
I don't believe the tree selections are final. I think we had a lot of consultation from the city on having to include native trees, but I think the motion that was prepared for tonight in the plum hearing, and Laura, correct me if I'm wrong here, is that we will be coming back to meet with UNNC on design and programming. So I'd be happy to add that to the motion, that there's some discussion about landscaping as well.
Okay,
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And yes,
Absolutely.
that's a correct summary of the proposed motion. But remember, everybody, that motion can change, especially if it's a positive change. Easy. Paula. But you're muted.
I just want to ask you, Laura, if you have the PowerPoint, if you could email this one to me and the other one. I would like to just take time to look at it more closely.
Jen, is this the same one we had from the other? So it's in the agenda packet. I can't email it, but it's in the public agenda packet anyway.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hugo. Hugo?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So hello. At the moment, you said that it's only been approved for 20% affordable housing. Okay, and so potentially it'll go to up to 50% affordable housing. Okay, and is most of the funding coming from LA County and Metro for this project?
No, so it's a combination of private money. We anticipate using tax credits. There are state funding sources. there are a number of different programs. Metro and LA County aren't contributing the funding, they're contributing the land.
Okay. Okay. And so, would it be possible to have more than 50% affordable housing, or is that even, or is 50% the max?
No, it can be 100% affordable. I mean, there's certainly 100% affordable projects. There's no prohibition on this being 100% affordable. At this point, what we're hoping or aspiring to get to is 50% affordable, which would create 200 units of affordable housing under this project. We haven't yet pursued enough funding to get to 100% affordable because this is a very large project at 400 units. Most affordable housing projects are about 100 units on average. So the amount of funding that this project would require from outside sources in order to provide enough subsidy to make it affordable is pretty outsized for this type of project. So even a 200 unit affordable project is fairly large in scale in order to put together enough funding sources to make it work. So basically the reason you do mixed income projects is that the market rate helps subsidize the affordable piece. And that's why there's a lot of encouragement of doing mixed income projects, because when you have the market rate units subsidize the low income units, then you actually rely on fewer public funding sources. So we're trying to find a balance between putting something together where we use as little public funding source as we can while still providing as much affordable housing to the community as we can.
Right. Okay. And so in the, what would be the deadline?
Hugo, I think you well expanded your 1 minute. Let me go through other questions if we have some time. I'll come back just as I'm coming back now to Jasmine. So I can come back to you.
Yeah, sorry.
No problem.
Sorry, I just wanted clarification on that because I know you mentioned that there was no funding coming from the county or Metro, but I did see that the Board of Supervisors had approved funding. I think it was Prop A funding. So did you all receive that, or are you not receiving that funding anymore?
I'm sorry, you're correct. That's from Supervisor or former Supervisor MRT's office had put forth a challenge that if we can hit 50% affordable, they would contribute $2 million towards the funding. So thank you for making that correction. That's not a traditional funding source for affordable housing. That was a challenge, basically grant that they have put forth for us to be able to hit that target. So if we do hit that target, they will fund that amount of money.
Okay. Sarah.
Hi, I just wanted to get a clarification. So you stated that if it's 20% affordable housing and that only requires half a parking spot per affordable unit, if you increase it to 50% affordable housing, would you cut back on parking at that point?
This is a negotiation that's ongoing with Metro because under the terms of the agreement we have with Metro, they have limited us to the half a stall. But what we are proposing is that no matter how much we move the affordable housing percentage up, that the parking stays fixed at 502 units, because this is a concern that has come up with the adjacent neighbors that they don't want the increased affordability resulting in less parking. And so this is a modification that we will have to make in our agreement with Metro if we are able to be successful and to getting to 50% affordable. But it's something we're absolutely committed to sort of advancing on behalf of our neighbors, or the neighbors adjacent to this site, because that's already been a point of contention. And for anyone attending the July 7th hearing, I already know there's going to be a lot of discussion about maintaining the amount of parking that's at the project as currently presented. But that's a very good observation and something that has come up quite a bit in community discussion.
Okay, thank you. David Saffer.
Good evening. In the Metro hearings, there was a discussion that the station at Crenshaw and Exposition would include an optional knockout panel. Should the development on the west side of Crenshaw want to put a portal on that side of the street as well? does your project include a portal for that station?
No, we do have the knockout panel. It's approximately where the cursor is. So we did build to accommodate that. So we don't have a rendering that shows the facade where we are preserving space for a portal to be built on the western parcel. It's something that Metro is still currently exploring, how they're going to dig the underground tunnel from where the knockout panel is to where we've left space to put a portal. I know they're also exploring potentially getting control of the Shell station site and maybe having, you know, a portal on that position, on that parcel. So they've left the, I guess, conversation open on how that portal is actually going to work, but structurally and as far as programming, we have incorporated space should they decide to dig that tunnel, go through the knockout panel and put a portal on the western parcel.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so you guys, I know, Hugo, I said I can come back to you and I will commit to it, but we are so out of time. So Hugo, you would be the last person if you're still gonna go.
Okay. Yeah, I was just going to say that I think that $2 million funding from Mark Ridley Thomas to reach 50%, I feel that should definitely be something that your group takes advantage of. Right now, land is limited in Los Angeles, especially for affordable housing. And so I think if a project like this is to be made, then I think it's worth spending some more time trying to get that additional funding to at least be 50 or 51% affordable housing, especially if there is $2 million being provided for it. And I know it can be way more than $2 million to create it.
Thank you. I appreciate that comment, and it's something we're absolutely working towards.
Okay, so I'm going to post in the chat. It was also on the agenda, the proposed motion from the Planning and Zoning Committee, and that's without the amendment that we've already discussed tonight. So let me just read it out loud, and then we discussed landscaping too. But Planning and Zoning Committee recommended that the governing board support the project in concept, but request that the developer return to the community during future phases of design to seek input. I'm losing it. I'm going back to the agenda to seek input and further support. And we support the density and the intensity of the development at this site in the community. So that is the motion that the Planning and Zoning Committee made. Discussion tonight was to add the phrase during, landscape design, right? And Hugo, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, does this include input about the units and what ratio of affordable versus non-affordable?
I don't know that we did or didn't, but remember that that's all dependent on funding. And the one thing we don't have a voice in is funding. Except insofar if the applicant came back to us because a funder requests a letter of support from the neighborhood council, because occasionally they do on affordable projects. But in terms of what we have before us as a land use case, their funding is not before us, I guess the best way to say it. If you wanted to add to the motion, something to the effect that we appreciate the efforts applicant is making towards increasing the affordable housing ratio. But if what you're actually asking is for more than 50%, I'm not sure where you're coming from either, Hugo. And noting there is no motion actually on the table.
Oh, okay, because the wording just seems like it's going to ask for additional input about the design, but I was wondering if it's also going to ask for input about the units, about if the
Well, it
community is.
can, there's no, I mean, if you want, if you're saying,
Just for there to be discussion about the units, not necessarily, I'm not saying it should be at least 70% or 50%. I'm just saying for there to be input about it in the future.
okay, so here, see, regarding the ratio of affordable units. Okay, so you're saying something to the effect of plus UNNC would like to have further input and discussion regarding the ratio of affordable units. Does that look good?
Yeah, thank you.
Right. So I've been reluctant to make much of a comment, but some of the things we had also discussed at planning and zoning and in multiple conversations is in all of these projects that we see before us, they seem to all be either market rate, which almost not quite as luxury, or affordable, and we keep missing the middle, you know, the phrase called missing middle. And in fact, I think city council or the state have set up some funding for the missing middle. So I think it is worth having an ongoing discussion, but I also think, Hugo, it's worth having an ongoing discussion at UNNC about finding workforce housing. You know, in other words, I think we would like to have a community that reaches all. So, but that's not on the table tonight. I think there's no issue whatsoever with what you're proposing adding to the motion. And Teresa, are you good with the landscape design to be added? You're buried somewhere in the queue here, so I can't. So feel free to answer the question. Sorry.
Yes, please add that, Laura. Whatever you just said was fine.
Yeah, landscape design to be added to this motion. So, so that all being said, what the motion now would be, I mean, it's sort of poorly written, but I don't feel like rewriting it because we're so running late. That UNNC supports in concept this project, but requests that the developer returns to the community during future phases of design to seek input and further support. We support the density and intensity of the development at this site in the community. We would like landscape design to be added to the consulting list, and plus UNNC would like to have further input and discussion regarding the ratio of affordable units. And that could be the motion, even though it's not elegant in terms of what Greg would want to put on a BAC, but we can work that out. If that's okay with everyone, on behalf of the Planning and Zoning Committee, I will make that motion, but it would need a second from someone not involved in the prior discussions.
You second.
Okay. Okay, so I don't know if my Laura moves ever got posted, but here we go. Laura moves and Hughes seconds. Okay. Jasmine?
I know we're short on time, so I know I'm short on time, so I just want to quickly say that I do appreciate the effort to include more affordable housing. I do think that, especially because this project is on public land, that it's critical that we do utilize, as Hugo said, that we do utilize this for as many affordable units as possible. So I'd really like to see a commitment to at least 50% affordable. So with that, all, thank you.
How do you vote?
Okay, we're about
Have we
to
started
vote.
BAC yet? Yeah, I don't think we started voting yet.
Yeah, we're about to vote. Well, Jasmine will be the first voter, but is Greg still with us to do the BAC? Okay. Trying to see if Greg is here.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, there you are.
Yeah,
All
I'm
right,
here.
so I would like to have board members, thank you, unmute yourselves, and let's run through the BAC and the vote. Jasmine, you're first.
Abstain.
Jasmine's abstaining. Dorit?
Yes.
John Arnold is absent. Gabby?
Yes.
Okay. Tori is absent. Paul?
Yes.
Carlos?
Yes.
Laura is a yes. Hugo?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
Raheem?
I was in and out. I'm gonna have to abstain.
Okay. Isaac?
Yes.
Marielle?
Yes.
Hugh?
Yes.
Cordell?
Yes.
Michael is absent. Chris?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Nancy? Oh, she
Let me
was
see.
here.
Let me see if I see her.
I said yes.
Okay.
Okay, she's here, yeah.
Janie? Janie's also in and out. I think she's out, absent for the vote. And Lizzie?
Yes.
Okay. All right, motion passes.
Yes.
And now, let's see, and we're gonna, again, we're kind of going quickly here. I don't know how we're going quickly, but we have to go quickly because we're gonna lose quorum by 10 o'clock. And I had hoped to be done at 9:15, but we're getting there. Case number DIR 2018-5925 TOC 1A at 1537 South Wilton Place. So I'm going to read the agenda item out loud and then explain a little bit. UNNC has previously voted to support the appeal and oppose the project as presented. UNNC also previously adopted a resolution describing our concerns regarding design within the character of the neighborhood. The original residence has been heavily damaged by a series of fires in 2021. The Planning Commission had denied the appeal in part, meaning that what they had done, I'm digressing from the agenda item, the Planning Commission supported the project, which is a TOC, Transit Oriented Communities, apartment building with, I'm forgetting the numbers and I'm so sorry, but I think it's 22 units, of which 3 are affordable, at very low income affordable. But they supported the appeal in part and required a redesign. So supported the project in part and the appeal in part, a split decision. At City Council, Mark Ridley Thomas made a further amendment that required additional redesign to make the project, in quotes, more compatible with the character of the neighborhood and to have the developer work with, again, in quotes, community experts, but nothing was defined. It was a lot of lack of communication between the planning department, the community experts, whoever they may be, UNNC, the council office, and the developer. There was like no communication from the planning department about how to proceed. So suddenly, however, there is a deadline and the planning department wants us to act literally by tomorrow if we can. And the motion from the Planning and Zoning Committee is basically that we recommend that the governing board strongly reaffirm the motion made by UNNC in February 2021 that includes bringing the project to the community for design review and demand that the specific design changes be made, including increasing the setback to the block's prevailing setback, reducing the unit size intensity to reduce the building mass, and to step back the front of the building to lessen the impact on the streetscape in the character residential overlay. So that's a really complicated motion that you guys may or may not support. So we have the developers, Gabrielle Fadita, and is this Tomer? Because I don't know who's who with us. If you want, I don't know who's who. That's Tomer, but you're muted. So if you want to unmute, and
I'm Tomer and he's Gabriel.
Okay, hi. And
Hi.
if so, you heard what we were recommending. We haven't shown anything yet on the screen, but did you want to address the neighborhood council? And again, noting a recommendation is not a yes. It's not a no. It's just a recommendation to the board. So if you want to.
Well, I would like to kind of interject. My understanding of the approval as it was given is a bit different than yours. I think were advised at the time that we were to consult with some community persons in an effort to maybe understand what issues there may be in the design as it stood. That design had already been modified as a result of some of those hearings. I'm not sure whether it was Plum or the hearing before that, the appeal hearing. But we had already worked with planning to sort of modify that design in order to be a little bit more in conformance with what they perceive to be neighborhood compatibility. So at this time, I mean, I reached out to you, I think the day after the Plum Committee hearing, Ms. Myers, and we had a long conversation that I believe to be very productive. And you stated to me at that time that you were going to the board, which I believe is the board that I'm probably before at this time, and that you would communicate with me about any issues, should there be any. And that was the last that you and I had spoken. So we kind of proceeded with the plans. As far as modifying setback, as far as modifying unit intensity, that is currently not something that we're going to be open to. The project has vested, the appeals processes have been exhausted. The time frame to file lawsuits has already come and gone. At this time, we're here to show good faith. We want to work with the community. If there's any concerns about the facade or anything like that, we're more than willing to take them into account. But as far as structural changes, unit mix, setback, that's not really something that we're willing to entertain at this time. You know, prior to that, I had spoken to someone else in the community, Jean Frost. I don't know if that's the accurate name or not. And I gave her the opportunity to raise any concerns, and it was just kind of like a solid no, I don't want to talk to you. We've already expended tons of money, tons of time, tons of resources to get to the point where we're at here. So again, we invite the board and the attendees in this meeting to give us sort of feedback regarding anything that has to do with the facade. But we strongly dispute and will not support a motion or a proposition that has anything to do with the structural changes, setback, unit mix, anything like that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I will just say, because we did just make this public, what I had actually said to you in that conversation, and you're right, the name is Jean Frost, is that you had to talk to Jean Frost because she was the appellant. And I'm the president of a neighborhood council, and I could not, since I'm a government official, you know, talk to you about some of the aspects that we were discussing. So I mean, it's a circle, I understand that, but we did have a long conversation, but you know, that was, so again, the neighborhood council may act independently. The city council and the planning department may choose to listen to us or not. And I think one of the things that we were I know that we were discussing at the Planning and Zoning Committee for everyone's information, and I can post some images. I don't know if it's necessary, but basically this project as designed has a 20-foot front yard setback and a 17-foot rear yard setback. The neighborhood, the prevailing setback ranges from 34 feet to 37 feet. So this building right in the middle of the block will jut forth by 17 feet. So one of the thoughts we had at Planning and Zoning, and we don't know how you get to it technically, is that it didn't seem particularly necessary to have a 17-foot rear yard for a tall building. That why don't you just pick up the whole building and move it backwards, however one accomplishes it, so that it has a minimal rear, whatever would work with the fire department, minimal rear, and push the building back. And then a discussion about not reducing the number of units, but I think you understood that intensity of units means instead of 3 bedrooms, maybe 2. But that obviously has something to do with financing, which we're not allowed to get into. Greg has his hand up, Hugo has his hand up, and I'm going to share the screen so that everyone can see as best I can what we're talking about. So go ahead, Hugo, your hand, no, Greg's hand was up first. Hugo's hand is up second. And I am looking for some images while we're doing
Okay,
that.
okay, Madam President, and to
Sure.
our guests. As the board, we're looking at what our Planning and Zoning Committee made a recommendation on to say we are endorsing that and moving that forward. Your comment about if there is a recommendation, your organization cannot support that, that is not something that we can get into. I don't think we can get into, other than to say our Planning and Zoning Committee made a recommendation, and as I'm reading what's before us, it's just that we were reaffirming our commitment from the Planning and Zoning Committee. So the discussion about how that your organization could not support that is, again, as I believe as the Madam President is stated, that's for another body to address. But if our Planning and Zoning Committee made a recommendation and you consider that that's not something that you support, those are just the facts that exist. But we would just vote on or endorse what our Planning and Zoning Committee presented to us, or either not endorse it.
Right.
And so I'm just going to take the notes that are before us and the recommendation that's before us as valid, as that's what that committee thought was in the best interest of our community. So those are my comments.
Thank you. Hugo?
Hello. Thank you for the guests for coming. And I wanted to ask, I don't know if maybe Laura, you have the info, but I saw it's 21 units. But what was the ratio of affordable versus non-affordable?
I think it's, they'll correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's 3 affordable units.
It's 2 extremely low income.
Oh, only, okay, 2. And then just so everyone knows, they also have a mix of unit sizes, and it would be up to the housing department to decide which of the units are the affordable units. So the housing department could choose a 3-bedroom, they could choose a 1-bedroom, I believe. And again, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Fedita, but I think it's up to the housing department.
That's true.
Correct, and I think it's decided already.
It has been decided. I don't know exactly what the numbers are, which units have been dedicated at this point, but I know that they're generous. I don't think that there's no like single or anything like that.
Right. Okay, and you guys can see I'm sort of scrolling through up and down on the images. This is not the actual plans. Greg, are you able to call on hands? Because I can't see the hands at the moment because I've got the screen.
I see Teresa's hands up.
Thank you. Teresa, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I think Nancy's hand was up before mine.
Okay.
But I'll just go ahead. I just want to once again ask about landscaping and ask about the trees. Have you made a tree selection? And if not, will you be willing to work with us to help select the appropriate trees?
We have made a tree selection. I think it's over there in the drawings. As you know, the city now requires that you submit a landscape drawing. To the extent that it's feasible and it makes, obviously we're not going to import, $100,000 specimens from anywhere, but if it's reasonable, then we of course are going to be willing to work with you.
Okay, well, I think most of the developers are using native trees, or at least trees that will over time become drought tolerant. So it would not be $100,000 trees, but as long as you're willing to work with us, that's great.
Well, so I believe that our landscape drawing is mindful of indigenous species of trees and plants, and that they are drought tolerant. So if you'd like to take a look at the drawings that are attached and let us know what feedback you may have, we'd be welcome. You'd be welcome to discuss that with us, certainly.
Okay, thank you.
Nancy.
Yes, no, Laura, I just had a question in terms of process. If we already voted for this in February of last year, why do we have to vote? Why do we have to reaffirm?
Well, we don't, but for the fact that based on our budding relationship with the new council, city 10 council staff, and the interesting relationship we've lately had with the planning department, we seem to have a demand letter that we need to, and by tomorrow. I don't know any other way to say it, but again, our thought is to strongly reaffirm our position, and I'm sort of agreeing with you that we don't have to, but sort of we do politically, but also, I mean, really what I want to do is see if there's any way that Mark Ridley Thomas can wave a magic wand at council and allow this team to move the building back and reduce or almost eliminate that rear yard so the building can move back without them having to start a process over that could be appealed again, which would be, you know, a nightmare for them. And this, I don't want this to go on and on and on. And the reason that this has a sudden emergency, if that's the next question from board members, is that the house, the 1906 house, has now caught on fire 3 times. So there was a major fire and then 2 more fires. One was just a couple of weeks ago. And there's an effort to have it demolished in a normal way, meaning that the project is approved and thus the demolition permit is issued by Building and Safety. The council office has also been exploring separately doing it through a nuisance abatement process with Building and Safety to demolish the house. But essentially at the moment, with a CPIO in place, and this is not subject to all the CPIO rules, but apparently it's subject to the one that says until the project is fully approved and entitled, you cannot demolish. But we have a situation where it keeps catching on fire. Yeah, I mean, you know, so essentially they've asked us to make another action and do it now, but they may not expect us to be sticking to our original guns.
Can we call the question?
Yeah.
Yes, Ms. Myers, I would like to update you. Today, I received an RTI for demo, and most likely tomorrow I will pull the permit, and probably beginning of next week, the demolition will proceed so that we can secure this building, or this lot rather, and not have some emergency.
So does that mean the urgency for tomorrow, not that I really want to put this off another month, but does that mean the urgency for us approving a resolution or not, you know, goes away? I mean, they're letting you have the demolition permit without the approved plans?
No, not really, because it goes hand to hand. And that's why I think the urgency. Now, I would like to maybe suggest something for the future. The hearing was, I think it was on January, end of January or beginning of February, rather. The next day, I've had Tomer call. And since there is no vehicle between the developer, being us, and you to engage in discussions, then my only avenue was the planning. And we've been calling planning.
Right.
I would say emails, calling every other day in an effort.
Okay. And can we clarify planning department at the city of LA, not planning committee for UNNC?
Okay, yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't me you've been calling and emailing every day.
No.
Right.
I mean, the city of the planning, city of Los Angeles. Basically, this is the only avenue we have.
The share. Okay, go ahead.
I'm saying basically this is the only avenue we had, and we've been calling, and unfortunately, and by the way, the project was submitted, I think, either the beginning of 2018, end of 2017, and we are now 4 years into the process. Now, with regards to the setbacks, you have a power lines in the back of the building. And I have another project right now, and I don't think we can even come close. I think the the code is, and with the DWP is like 15 feet setback, and we can't really come any closer to their power lines.
Right. So and again, I think Greg kind of said it cogently. We have UNNC has its own process. The board may or may not accept what we're proposing, but we had voted on this in February and in January and in November prior to that. So, I mean, we have voted multiple times on this and met with your original architect. I don't even know if that's the current architect, and said we didn't like it. I mean, it's going backwards in time. But you've also seen tonight a different project that's also around the same number of units that retain the house, much bigger lot, I think. And we've had yet another project sort of as models where we build behind the existing houses. That's not possible now. That house is going to be demolished. It's been severely damaged by fires, plural. But I don't know that that means that we shouldn't tell the planning department and tell the city council member what we think. And I'll be honest with you, the reason I didn't go any farther is I thought you were redesigning based on the council motion, and the planning department didn't tell me anything different either. So I was surprised 2 weeks ago or 1 week ago to get this email saying we have to do it, we have to do it, we have to do it. And we have to do it like yesterday. They really gave us a deadline of the 25th of June. And I said, can't do that. We have a meeting on the 29th. So anyway, we can't just go back and forth as a personal conversation between me and the applicants. Are there any other board member comments or anything by anybody? No. So I'm going to post, and then you guys can decide if this is what we want to do.
Madam President, I just copied it from the agenda.
Okay, you're yes,
Yeah.
but I need to post it. I have
Yes.
to post it into the chat as
Yes.
well, even if you copy it from the agenda. So, which I'm about to do. But remember, you guys, first of all, someone needs to make the motion. And then second of all, someone has to second. And third of all, you guys can vote however you vote, right? But the motion from Planning and Zoning, the recommendation is that the governing board strongly reaffirm the motion by UNNC in February 2021, including bringing the project to the community for design review, and demand that specific design changes be made, including increasing the setback. Okay, I can't scroll in there. Including increasing the setback to the block's prevailing setback, reduce the unit size intensity to reduce the building mass, and step back the front of the building to lessen the impact on the street case in the character residential overlay. So that may or may not be realistic in terms of what the ownership is able to do, even with the financing they currently have. But that's the motion from Planning and Zoning. Okay, so just so it stops being a Laura show, does anyone want to make that motion? John is not here to make the motion.
Hugh, make the motion.
Hugh makes the motion. And is there a second?
I'll second it.
Greg seconds. Okay, and then Raheem has his hand up.
Yeah, just a quick question for the applicants. I'm just wondering what their thoughts are about the setback in the front yard, whether they feel like it's appropriate.
We do believe it's appropriate. If you look at it, it's, I think, a very attractive looking building, and it's not unique. Okay, there's apartment buildings on the next block. There's apartment buildings across the street. So this isn't, like a pioneer in the area. Our first design, I think, when I looked at it, and that's the one we were advised was incompatible with the area. When we looked at it, my father and I, when we revisited it, we agreed. It was not at all something that would blend into that neighborhood. So we sat down and reworked it and took into consideration the setback and how it would look from the street. And we think it's a very neutral building, and one that's going to be blended in sort of the environment for, hopefully centuries to come.
Okay, but specifically about the setback, because do you disagree? I think Laura said that the setback for the rest of the buildings is like 17 feet
I have
shorter than
not
that. Does that matter?
I have not calculated the prevailing setback, but this is a TOC project, so the prevailing setback is sort of not relevant to this project. And we proceeded on the basis of the TOC.
The building across the street definitely don't have 30 feet or 17, and perhaps some of them maybe have 10 feet setback on the front. The building across the street don't even have hardly any setback.
Yeah, okay. So rather than arguing about it, this may not be doable, but I'm just posting on this side of the block, what the setbacks are. So you can see is, a whole list: 35.8, 37.5, 37.5, 34, 36.4, and then 41. I'm rounding up the numbers. And then this one would be 20. So that's it. How across the street, you can see a green line. It's 20, but we're not across the street on this side. So again, it would require, if they can't move the building back, it would require a total redesign. That may not be feasible. That, and I don't know if we should be doing feasibility or just what we think. But you can see on this, the dotted line is the setbacks of everything else, and then the numbers. And then the green line is where 20 feet is. And they are correct. Our applicants are correct that for whatever reason, the city has imposed a 20-foot mandatory setback, not the prevailing. And just to remind everybody, because we have been dealing with this for some time now, the CPIO was not in effect when the applicants applied to build this. The question was, all along, the technical legal question was, does the fact that the city council had adopted it, this fact that there was an EIR that was adopted before this project, does that make a difference? Maybe it does and maybe it doesn't. The City Planning Commission and the council said it did not. This is not going to a lawsuit. As they've pointed out, I don't know if that the time has actually elapsed, but the building's about to elapse that the lawsuit would be based on, meaning the historic house. So there's no lawsuit that anyone's looking at. So what they do have to do is design standards. And again, the problem for everyone here is that no one specified which design guidelines or which design standards they must follow. And that's been a problem all along, because the CPIO standards are different than the citywide standards, which are different than the South LA standards. So which ones apply? Nobody ever decided. And last but not least, we all heard that it was going to be redesigned again. Our applicants did not hear that it had to be redesigned again, and the planning department just sat around for all these months and didn't do anything. So here we are. And I'm going to stop the share again. And I think we're just going in a circle, and we really just need to vote unless somebody else has something else to say. And Chris Carlson.
I appreciate you giving us the history. And there's a lot about the setback issue that I am bothered by, but I'm also concerned that the applicant has been poorly handled by the city and impacted fairly brutally by not having the communication that they needed. And so I think we should be mindful of the situation that they're in, as well as what, on a perfect world we'd like.
Correct. But I think Chris, I think we also need to be mindful of the ongoing impact to that immediate neighborhood of an abandoned building that unfortunately ended up occupied by squatters for all this time, but very much an abandoned building, fires, and the fact that no one in the future will be able to build this building again either, because the character residential overlay zone is in place now without argument. So there are no more cases where someone's going to be able to say it doesn't apply to me, because going forward
Thank
it
you
does.
for that clarification.
Yeah. So, but we need to vote, and I want to say to my fellow board members, please vote your conscience. Do not vote that I've had much to say on this one, because don't let my public thoughts invade your private thoughts. Please vote your own conscience if you don't mind.
Thank you.
So, Greg, are we ready? It's Greg here.
Greg has to unmute.
Well, yeah, I don't even see Greg at the moment.
He's indicating he's ready. He's ready.
Okay, thank you. So you're in the zone and you have a BAC in front of you, right? Okay, I'm gonna call the roll.
30 minutes ago.
Board members, please unmute. And I'm sorry again, I just can't go upside down and backwards on this.
You want me to go? You want me to go upside down? I can go upside down.
I'm not gonna. I'm gonna go in the top to bottom order. Jasmine.
Yes.
Dorit.
Yes.
John Arnold is absent.
Is Gabby here?
Yes, and I vote yes.
Okay. Tori is absent. Paul?
Yes.
Carlos?
Yes.
I'm skipping me for a moment. Hugo?
Abstain.
Hugo abstains. Paula?
No.
Raheem? Uh-oh. Is Raheem out? Raheem out of the room again?
No, I'm here. No.
You're voting no. Isaac? I think we have lost Isaac. Absent for the vote. Marielle?
Yes.
Hugh?
Yes.
Cordell has left, so he's absent. Michael is absent. Chris?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Janie is absent. Lizzie?
Yes.
And just to be that ethical, this time just ethical, I'm going to abstain. Ethical only because I've had so many conversations with the next door neighbor and other Mr. Fadiga and the planning department and the council office. I'm explaining my abstention. I abstain.
Noted.
Okay. Not to mention my work partner who has
noted
handing me notes throughout this
Moving
session.
on.
Yes, moving on.
Moving on. Okay. The
Thank you
next
to our
item, I
guests.
think we'll get through these other two rather quickly, I hope.
What was the vote? Did it
Oh
pass?
yeah, what is the vote,
It
Greg?
passed. It passed. It passed. One, two,
so we
three,
had-
four.
How many no's and how many abstentions?
Two no's, two abstain.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. So
Thank you very much. Thank you.
thank
Thank
you.
guys.
And you guys, I will keep talking with you. That's one reason I didn't want to vote. Okay. Case number, should be real quick. Case number ZA 2020-2060-F 4000 West Adams Boulevard. This is, you would think it's minor, but we have some very concerned community members. Overheight fence on West Adams Boulevard. There's been a couple of years of actual building and safety going after them, and then the people who live there now going after the people who sold it, and legal action. But essentially, they're asking to retain an overheight 6-foot wooden fence that's within the required front yard setback of an R3 zone lot. It was built without permit. It's subject to current code enforcement action to this day, and it's within the city designated Adams Boulevard Scenic Highway. We did not hear this case at Planning and Zoning. We had contacted the applicant and spoke at length, but then they never came back when it was brought back to life. The hearing is on Thursday at 9:30. Do you even want to take an action?
I don't,
Did anybody want, Greg?
I kind of don't even understand why this is in front of us. I'm missing something here. It's like it's a fence, some personal.
Well,
I
I'll
understand.
explain. Yeah, I can explain, and then Teresa. It's because it's the scenic highway, and because now the next door property has also put up a unpermitted 6-foot high wooden fence in the setback on a scenic highway. So Teresa, I see, and I think this was an Avenues code enforcement action.
Yeah, yes. First of all, it looks horrible. I don't know if you guys have seen it or not. It looks horrible. And I think that part of Adams is not in the HPOZ. And I understand from my husband that if it had been, they would have been on it like right away to make them take it down. I know that you mentioned, Laura, that there's already been some action against them, but I think it sets a really bad precedent going forward, because there are other units the other buildings along the avenues on the boulevard may want to put up some kind of privacy fence also. I really think we should make whatever effort we can to have it removed and to join in with others to have it removed.
Right. So obviously there's also a privacy alternative, which is a 42-inch high fence, which is what's legal in the front yard, and landscaping to create the privacy. But the question is, since the hearing is 2 days from now, and Teresa, unfortunately, you can't make a motion. Does anyone want to make a motion? I'm sorry. I'm just so sorry.
Can I ask a question?
She's representing the Avenues here tonight, but she can't make a motion. Do we want to send me for 30 minutes to a hearing on Zoom to say UNNC wants the fence down, or do we want to send me to say UNNC has no opinion because they never came to us, which I'm perfectly happy to do, and just keep the case file open? Or do we want to do nothing at all?
Laura, can I ask a question, please?
Sure. I don't know who asked that, but sure, go ahead.
It's Dorit, and I've had my head up.
Sure. I'm sorry, I've got the
Laura, let me ask a question. Did I hear you say that the people who own the building now are not the people who put the fence up, that was the previous owners?
It's complicated. This is another one of those TIC, tenants in common community. So somebody bought the building, somehow got rid of the tenants, converted them to for sale units, didn't do a condominium tract map and subdivision, just sold it as tenants in common. They had erected the fence, and the people who bought these TIC units had no idea that there was anything pending, any code enforcement pending against them, even though it was already pending. So they're sort of innocent. They did sue the prior owners. They got money to hire a lawyer to move this case forward. And I learned all of that in conversation with the representative right around March 2020, when the case got put on hold because of COVID. What has happened is that all of a sudden, based on the planning department's assuming, probably correctly, that the mayor is going to eliminate the emergency orders that has allowed cases to linger. Meaning there's been an emergency order in place that eliminated deadlines for action, and they think that's going to come to an end. The planning department suddenly has scheduled a spate of public hearings, and a lot of these cases, they've never, it happened so suddenly that we and everybody else never had a chance to deal with it. So we're making this too major for a minor case. I mean, our avenues
Yeah.
rep would like us to take an action. Should we do so?
You
This
have
is
3
Paul.
hands up.
I've been trying to raise my hands without.
Okay, go ahead.
Can I make a motion to be in support of Teresa and the avenues to be in opposition to this?
Okay, yes, you can.
Okay.
And
You-
this is
you-
Paula, I second.
You had 3 other hands that were.
Okay, go ahead. I see Hugh, and then the other hands went down.
Yes, I'm very uncomfortable with making any motion when this is a planning and zoning issue and the planning and zoning committee has not met. I understand that there is a time limit, and oftentimes time limits mean that proper consideration can't be made, and therefore we are unable to act. So in this particular case, I don't think we should be even considering this, bringing it to the board before it goes to the planning commission, before our planning, planning.
Right, I understand.
So
Hugo has his
I
hand.
would like to make that up. I would like to suggest that in the future, that we never bring anything that isn't brought before a committee to the governing board meeting. It is now 10:40. We're supposed to have been done with the meeting a long time ago.
Well, it's 9:40. Thank
9:40,
God.
I'm sorry,
But you are correct.
Okay. Anyway,
You are correct. And Nancy must leave at 10. Okay, can I do this? I see Hugo has his hand raised. Can I just suggest that I'm allowed to go to this hearing to say that we request that the case be kept open until August 6th and no determination be issued, to give us time to have a board of planning and zoning committee meeting and a board meeting. And that's what I'll ask for. And then I would like to be able to compromise by saying, if they don't want to keep it open that long, that we could vote on it at the retreat after planning and zoning deals with it. Would that all work for you guys? And as hope for the best? I mean, we have a motion and a motion on the floor that's been seconded. So we would have to table the motion.
But the motion that was presented was presented before the discussion was over. So really the motion was not presented properly.
Yeah, I don't want to spend a long time discussing the Roberts rules of it. So
Why not? You have to. I'm sorry, Madam President, you have to. The motion was not presented properly before the discussion was over, and that was because of so the discussion needs to be completed before we make the motion. So it's just, so we can't just say I don't want to follow the
okay,
rules.
guys, that's fine. Whether Paula, do you accept that your motion's not even here?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, and it's not.
Paul and Paula.
Come on.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's fine. Is it okay with everyone? Do I have consensus that I can ask for?
Yeah,
more
go for it.
Hearing.
Yes.
Fine.
Go.
Okay,
We don't want the fence. None of us want the fence.
Moving on.
It's just a procedural way of doing it. Yes.
That's fine. I'm moving on. Last planning and zoning case. Again, this one did come to us, thank God. ZA 2021-1236 ZAA HCA at 2120 South 3rd Avenue. Basically, this is an existing house in another one of our character residential overlay zones where they're keeping the house, but building, because the zone allows a building, allows more units, building a new duplex in the rear of the property. The existing driveway is 7.5 feet wide. That's all it is. It cannot get wider without demolishing the building or demolishing part of the building. So they're asking for an adjustment to the width. And our committee does not object to this request. We have expressed concerns regarding there's some current parking in the front yard. We didn't send a motion to the governing board other than what I just reported. Ariel Gutierrez is here. If you want to say a minute's worth of stuff about this, representing the applicant, Ariel, if you're still here. I see your name in the queue. There you are.
Hi everyone. Thank you. Good evening. Yes, what you have said, Laura, that we are constructing this duplex at the rear of the property, and unfortunately, we are stuck with the present setback. And the unfortunate thing about this is that there is a COO that was issued calling out a 10-foot setback, but in actuality, at the present site, when the applicant surveyed the property, the driveway is actually 7 feet and 5 inches. So he's basically coming forth and making sure that he doesn't get held up during inspection, because as you know, inspectors have 10 eyes when they do inspection, they do measurements and whatnot. So he's taking this upon himself to just address the issue right off the bat, so that he won't get stuck. So he is stuck with the current setback at 7.5, although the building and safety certificate of occupancy that was issued is actually a 10-foot, which is obviously incorrect. Anyhow, yeah, that is our issue. And I know you pointed out to me that the tenants at this property were parking at the front of the property, and we've already advised them not to do that. And we are going to maintain a landscape so that nobody will park at that area. So that's how we are going to address those issues.
Okay.
That's all
Greg.
I have.
Okay, thank you. Greg, you have your hand up.
Yeah, on this item, I'm concerned that there's no motions forwarded to the governing board from the planning and zoning. So,
well,
is this just a discussion, or is it something that we're voting on? We don't have a particular motion.
I'm sorry, Greg. Sometimes, just like with executive, we just vote to move something forward. So that's what we had done. We voted to move it forward to governing board, and that we didn't object to it. And then we discussed it again the other night, just to say that there's parking in the front yard. So I've already communicated, as you can tell, that concern. But we voted to move it forward. We just I don't know any other way to say it. We probably had a meeting just like this, and we wanted to get out the door.
Okay, so basically, if you moved it forward,
remember that some of these things have been lagging a long time and been suddenly brought back to life. So, I couldn't find in the chat anything more than what I just said. Sorry.
Okay, so Madam President, so then if you moved it forward, then without any concerns, then should we take from that the Planning and Zoning Committee didn't have any objection to it, which is a soft endorsement of this request? Okay.
Yes, we had a great discussion about the width is wide enough for an SUV. So I mean, it's an existing driveway, and we applaud the fact that they're saving another house. So I don't know any other way to say it. I just couldn't find in the chat, looking backwards, where the motion was.
Right. Okay. So can I?
Sure.
If there's any, is there any more discussion on it? So I think I want to make a motion so we can move forward.
Yeah, so I mean, I am happy to make a motion to support the project.
Okay. Got it.
Laura, did you just make the motion?
I did.
Then I'll second it.
I don't know what. Okay.
Wait,
Greg, were you going to second it?
Greg wants to second it.
No, I just want to make sure we have.
Forward.
I just want to have a motion.
Okay,
that's all.
Dorit seconds. I'm posting. Laura moves to support the project. Dorit seconds. Is that good enough?
Yes.
Yes, it's
okay.
Super good.
And oh my God, look at the time. And Nancy has to leave. I know it.
Guys, thank you so much. You guys have a great evening.
We haven't voted yet, but go ahead.
Stick around for a few minutes.
Let us vote. Are we ready?
Yes.
Okay, Jasmine. Uh-oh. We may have lost Jasmine. We have lost Jasmine. Dorit?
Yes.
John is absent. Gabby?
Yes.
Tori is absent. Paul?
Yes.
Carlos?
Yes.
Laura's a yes. Hugo,
Abstain.
abstain. Paula,
Yes.
Raheem,
Yep.
okay. Isaac is absent. Marielle,
Yes.
Hugh,
Yes.
Cordell is absent. Michael is absent. Chris, did we lose Chris? Do we still have quorum?
I'm counting
Yes.
votes, so someone else count quorum.
We have 13.
Chris is here?
Chris is gone.
No,
Okay.
Chris is gone.
Wait, Greg,
Okay. Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Lizzie. And Lizzie?
Lizzie has to unmute.
Okay, well, at least
Sorry, I'm sorry. I was having trouble with the cursor. Yes.
That darn
Okay.
cursor.
That darn, and Janie is absent. Okay. Hey, guys.
That was 1, 2, 3. 5. Paul, you were yes, right? Yes. 5, 6, 7. It passed.
Okay. We're at our last little section. Nancy, sadly, is very short now. Executive committee. By the way, I'm skipping the follow-up to previous cases. I really actually had one, but we're going to lose quorum. So I'll just tell you, in case the time changes, that on a case we had voted on some while ago, Truffle Brothers, the restaurant where we voted to support them getting a conditional use permit and ABC license to sell beer and wine with the restaurant in consumption, but also for to-go, offsite consumption. They suddenly have a complaint where someone is worried that they would bring crime and homelessness to the church and the school across the street. So the ABC is also doing a sudden hearing, but we do not have time tonight to take this up suddenly. I'm just advising you that if the time frame changes, we may need to do this in the future, but tomorrow morning was the deadline for letters. So moving on, it wasn't really on the agenda. Nancy, are you still here and able to give a 3-minute, 4-minute discussion of the standing rules?
Yes, I can.
And do you want me to make you a co-host to share the screen? Or do you
Sure.
need? Okay.
Either way is fine.
And I'm so sorry that I was really trying so hard to be done with this meeting already. Okay.
Great. So everyone should have received an email with the draft of the standing rules. So I'll go through it very quickly and then I'll leave most of the time for questions. So what we did, our goal in revising the standing rules was to correct major discrepancies between the way that we currently run the meetings and the way that we're supposed to run them under the standing rules. I think we discussed in the last meeting that, you know, that someone will take on revising the rules further to make sure that they comport with best practices. But that was not our goal for this round of edits. So what we did was we added a purpose statement to the standing rules. As the first paragraph, we moved the Code of Civility section, which is drafted, I think, either by Dunn or the City of LA, from the back of the standing rules to the front. We revised the parliamentarian section to allow for more than one parliamentarian so that no one individual is responsible. So that the responsibility doesn't fall on one individual, and rather more than one individual can serve as a parliamentarian. For the conduct of meetings, so this is the section that we made the least amount of changes, because this is really something that I think the committee in the next fiscal year will go through to make sure that It adopts best practices. What we did do was we made sure that to the extent the agenda has been approved by the executive committee, it does not have to follow the 5-minute Q&A restriction. In addition, we added section 3F where the board member who sits in the committee that has made the recommendation is the individual who makes the first motion to approve the committee. As is required by all motions, it needs to be seconded by another person before it can go up for a vote. We also expanded section 6 regarding training. Instead of listing specific trainings that are required, we made it more all-encompassing to include all trainings required by DUN. We added section 6 and 7 regarding what the responsibilities of the various reps and board members are. The next section is section 9, standing committees. So here, what we did was we listed those standing committees that are required, the executive committee and then the outreach committee. We also added planning and zoning, but what's gonna happen is each year the board will determine which standing committees we will have that year. What was happening in the past is that we had listed all of the standing committees in our standing rules, but we were having trouble finding co-chairs for those committees. So we weren't abiding by the standing rules because there were committees that we weren't running that solely because there were no co-chairs. So that way now each year we'll get to determine which standing committees we want to have that year and who wants to co-chair those standing committees. Let me see, the next change is really on the agenda setting. So we try to establish, what the process of setting the agenda is and when the various chairs and co-chairs need to submit the agenda for approval, and then the agenda being uploaded into the city website. There's a default now that because we need to upload them within 72 hours, that's when the committees send the agendas. And so we're trying to create more of a process of encouraging people to send the agendas earlier than the 72 hours prior to the meeting. The next item is section 13. So rules of use on the online accounts. So we right now, actually, I don't know who holds on to the login information for the various sites, but we are recommending that the president and secretary retain that login information, including for social media accounts. Nonetheless, that we're recommending that the chair of the communications committee be responsible for the social media accounts. And then lastly, the governing board, we added a provision that the governing board will work to establish a social media policy in accordance with applicable city requirements. We also added a section that as a matter of best practices, we're encouraging board members not to respond directly to any item that may come up to the board for voting on social media sites in their personal capacity in order to avoid a conflicts. Again, that's a recommendation, and it's not something you have to do. The last item in the standing rules is we added a provision regarding virtual meetings, that virtual meetings will be held in accordance with the protocol set by DUN. So that's a very, very short overview. And now I'll just open it up for questions. Go ahead, Dorit.
This is a beautiful piece of work. It's very elegant. Great job, Nancy, and great job to the people who gave you the framework to do this beforehand. I noticed under committees, homelessness committee, homeless liaison committee,
was not included.
Oh, yes.
And I don't know if that's because it just wasn't included in the original standing rules.
Right.
So I don't know if that should be included because that is one of our major committees. Thank you.
Yes, I can include that. Sorry.
Thank you.
Are there any other
questions?
Yeah. Because I just noticed, unfortunately, I won't name a name, somebody dropped out of the meeting. So we don't have quorum at this point.
Are we supposed to vote on this tonight or?
Well, we are not going to be able to because I think we only have 12 board members present.
Right, but were we going to vote on this or?
Well,
did it
we were
have to-
gonna try, but whether or not we would have, we're not, unless by some miracle someone logs back in. Yeah, Greg, unless you're seeing something I don't see.
No. Well, I thought we were just presenting it and that we were going to lay it out at the retreat for a detailed discussion.
Well, that's certainly the path we're now taking.
Hallelujah.
Whether or not that was.
Thank you for the journey. Thank you for the light on our path.
Yeah,
So-
life happens.
Yes, it does. Let's roll with it.
So, and again, not naming names, but
No, it's okay.
but we had a
We're
drop
good.
off, and
Yeah.
so we're done. Which life happens. But still, if anybody has other questions for Nancy or comments, go ahead.
Yeah, as I mentioned in the executive.
I'm sorry. Let me interrupt. Do I need to adjourn the meeting? And then we can keep talking without the recording? Or are we allowed to maintain the meeting?
When you lose quorum, nothing comes to mind about when you lose quorum. I know we can't vote on anything, but
We cannot vote on it.
I don't
Well,
know.
let's
It's
just
immediate
keep going.
dismissal.
This is what I'm going to say. We do not have quorum. So
And we can't vote on
technically,
anything.
we cannot vote. The meeting technically is adjourned, but the conversation is continuing.
No, we cannot keep the conversation going, can we? Because we're going to vote on this at another time. And if
Yeah.
we're not recording and this isn't a meeting, doesn't that mess with the Brown Act? Because there's way too
Yeah,
many people.
you're probably
here.
right.
No,
So why don't we just all go to bed?
We can't do Q&A. We can't do Q&A.
I'm sorry,
What'd you
Nancy,
say,
did you say
Nancy?
can or cannot?
No, cannot. According to
Okay.
I can do the presentation which I've done, but there can be no Q&A. So I don't know
Let's go home.
other presentation.
Yeah, I'm going to leave the meeting myself because it's 10 o'clock.
I
Buenas
second
noches.
Dorit.
Buenas noches. Mimi's time.
Okay, all right.
Can I make
so
a motion, please?
You can't make
Can I make a motion? Very
You can't make a
important.
motion.
To make Greg's dog the UNNC mascot. I love your cats.
No motions
And
allowed.
Laura's 12 cats as well.
No.
And my outdoor cat, Marble Cake.
Right.
No,
Yes.
that's cute.
Yes, I do
That's cute.
apologize. The
Sorry.
kitty cat has been pacing. You might have heard her in the background. She's been quiet this whole time until recently. Yeah.
Okay. Well, good night, good
Okay.
people.
I'm leaving. Good
Thanks,
night.
everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Sorry about that, you
Thank you.
guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I have a question, Laura.
Sure. Here,
Sorry.
wait.